So with our two lovely ladies, I know I'd mentioned doing a little bit separate. I did do for a few moments, but Miss M said she was getting a little bit too flustered being a little bit away from her sister. So again, I don't want to make it too hard. They were still within the same sort of bubble, could see each other, but obviously it could be a little bit of trigger stacking. So remember, trigger stacking can be a lot of, typically it can be, again, could be good things that are one after another, then all of a sudden something throws them off. It typically tends to be for trigger stacking, though, for a lot of us and for dogs, it's one little thing after another that are not the greatest. So let's say, for example, you were rushing and you were late to work. And then while you were rushing, you got every single set of lights that turned red on you. And then on your way to work, you spilt your coffee. And then maybe your boss gets mad at you for being tardy. So there's going to be moments where when your babe is having one thing after another happening, a smaller thing that they could have maybe handled prior with less of those maybe moments happening for them before that other event, your babe probably could have handled it. So just like with us, our ability to function and feel comfortable and do well also depends on how we've been working throughout the day at times, and maybe our comfort range and our level of tiredness. So ready, cuteness? So for our little lovely Miss G, I was working a little bit with her, and I did set out because she seemed to like having the mat down, and this kind of maybe can be very similar for her, feeling like it could be almost like carpet. So the reason I like to throw out some different availability for all the babes is obviously Miss M could care less about the different textures or surfaces. Her lovely lady friend, Miss G, is a little bit more unsure. So for right now, when working with the two girls, I might try and work a little bit of loose leash walking. I might toss a little find it over here, work our little Miss G for a few steps, then yes and feed. And then again for Miss M, do a little find it. So this way you could sometimes work both the girls within their comfort range and make training sessions short and sweet. So if, let's say, Miss M does a great job checking in and offers a gorgeous sit, I might feed her for that. Oh my goodness, Mr. Handsome says chewing is for losers. So we'll do another little find it for Miss M. And then for Miss G, we might practice a little bit with this loose leash walking. I know we have no equipment on, so ready, find it. So the reason, again, she has nothing on is I know you had mentioned that maybe the harness is at times a little bit unsure about it or a little bit uncomfortable. So we don't want to add one more thing that might cause Miss G to feel a little bit more apprehensive. So I know she does sometimes have a collar, but I figured might as well just have her be a naked lady. This way she can start to make sure that there's nothing on her physically that could also be affecting her behavior. So right here, she's doing some really nice check-ins. I don't even care about those sits right now because I want to make sure she's feeling physically comfortable. And then what we might do is another little find it for her sister. And then from here, work a little bit with Miss G, where I might just move around the environment and feed for that. If, for example, you're going to practice with both the girls, you may even, again, have one on one side, one on the other, and then capture those little moments when the girls are doing a really nice job nearby. So anytime Miss M offers something nice, like a sitting position or a check-in, same thing with Miss G, I'm going to go ahead and feed. So I'm not forcing the girls into things that are a little too flustering for them, but I want to make sure that the ladies are able to go at their particular rates. So this is really nice. Beautiful job for Miss G. So notice how you can see the difference with her I know it seems silly to lay down carpeting, and they're not really carpets, they're just beds, blankets, but she feels it might be a little bit safer this way. So we've been able to get a little bit of more of this lovely loose leash walking for Miss M. Again, send her off to do a find it, then take a few moments to do these lovely little capture moments for Miss G next to my side and feed for those. Ready, Maya? Find it. So we might try again, a little bit moving through our bubble. Yes, nice job, Miss G. Oh, find it. Ready? We can get another little, she's like, are you going to throw it? Ready? We'll do another little sit. She's like, my brain melted slightly. Nice, good girl. So if our ladies are on the more spectrum of being sensitive to novelty and to different little elements, and each girl's, again, an individual, we may find that, again, I know I did get to chat on Tuesday, so we know that she's on some medication to also help her with her anxiety. But you may want to check with the vet and see if there is other dosages or if it's maybe the right amount for her. Again, I'm not the one to know these things. So I would just make sure that, if she's still really having a rough time, I know especially after, like you mentioned, when she had that slip and she fell on the ice, which no one had a great time during those ice periods. That might be something that for now is we take a few steps back to then try to take a few steps forward. Ready? Maya, come. So right here, a little distracted, but right there, nice check-in, Miss M. So again, I'm gonna feed a couple little tidbits for doing that lovely little recall and doing a nice chill bounce back from the environment to me. She's like, this is much better with the blankets, thank you. So I know it sounds a little bit silly to bust out the Target blankets on the floor, but just like with some pups where they had slipped and fallen in the past, there are a lot of seniors too, or dogs that have limited mobility or, other medical conditions where I know you mentioned that in the house you do have little areas that have the rugs for her so she doesn't feel that she's going to maybe fall again. So, but definitely working her within those comfort range bubbles is going to be really helpful for boosting confidence. We just want to make sure that we're always, again, helping the girls build up that foundation versus by mistake. Sometimes what we will do, again, not on purpose, but we'll sometimes take a dog that is struggling with something and in the attempt to get them feeling better or over the thing, we expose them over and over to that setup. What that might actually do is have the opposite effect where the dog may find that no matter what they say or try to do to get away from a situation, it still happens anyway, which I'm not saying this is what we're rocking with our ladies, but it's just things to keep in mind. Like if we're going for, let's say, oh, that's very nice, Miss G. If let's say we're going and we're doing walks and sometimes there's moments where things become too overwhelming or flustering, that was very nice. We want to make sure, oh, you're doing such a good job with those sittings. So again, I'm not asking if she wants to offer it, fine, but you can see how quickly she gets out of them. So that could be her attempting to, again, gain another little tidbit, but I don't want her to think it always will involve being told she has to physically move in a certain position with her hind end. So even though, again, physically she seems to be okay, we want to make sure it's not getting more discomfort for her. Yeah, if you want to be done, that's fine. I'll come help you in just 2 seconds. Give mommy just one moment. I was having some lovely chopped up grapes for a snack and doing her thing. Nice. Miss M will do another little find it. And then for Miss G, we'll do again a couple little moments for this loose leash walking. Nice. We'll get maybe a little check-in for Miss M over here, and we're feeding Miss G just for doing such a good job. So, but the comfort range in Miss G, so Gracie, has definitely gotten nice check-in, has definitely gotten a lot more fluid, which I'm so happy about. Remember though, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So even though they came for their 2 sessions, remember that a lot of times what we might touch base on in here then has to be generalized and worked on in different venues, but always within the babe's comfort range. So remember, we want to stay well under the girl's threshold. We want to make sure that when we are working on certain dynamics or skills, nice right here. So I'm going to try and feed her a couple snacks while she's holding the position, just so it wasn't by accident her thinking it's putting the bum down and quickly getting back up. But you want to keep an eye on for that comfort range. So right now it might be a little harder to really distinguish, what is causing sometimes the facial expressions for some of the anxiety, because it could be, again, the fact that she's in this new bubble. It could be the funny sights and sounds of the building. It could be, again, trigger stacking. So one thing on top of another, which then makes easier tasks sometimes unattainable. So definitely just keep a good watch over your dog's body language. But at the same time, what they're able to give you for previous skills you may have thought were, well, again, rehearsed and figured out. So because if your babe is unable to give you skills or certain behaviors or cues that chewing that are typically really easy for them, that normally means that the comfort range is out of the window as well. So I know we've kind of keep harping on the same things, but it's just really important to see progression is to go at a rate that's attainable for each individual dog. So, but we'll give the girls a little breather, and then I want to see if we can work a few other little skills as well in just a moment. But very nice job, ladies. Super work.